We're continuing our discussion, or our learning rather, about the laws of Teshuva according to the Rambam. In these final weeks before the Rambam asks the following question in chapter 2. What is a complete Teshuva? How do you know if you actually did Teshuva correctly? And he says as follows. Yeah, it was complete. You actually. And he says, if somebody had the opportunity to do a sin that he transgressed on, he has the opportunity, he could do it, and he says, no, I'm not going to do it. I already did Teshuva for this. Not because he's scared of punishment, not because he's scared he's going to be found out, not because he's too weak to do it. For example, let's say he sinned with a particular forbidden woman, and afterwards he ended up together with her, same opportunity aroused, came his way. He still loves her the same way. He has the same strength that he did. He's in the same location, meaning country, and he says, nah, I'm not doing this. Then you know it's real. Up until that point, maybe he's sincere, maybe he's not. We don't know. God knows, but true Teshuva is when you have the chance to do it again and you don't. Not because you weren't in the mood, you were in the mood. Not because you had no strength, you did. Not because you were scared, you weren't scared. But because you did Teshuva, and that's how you know that it's real. This is what Shlomo, King Solomon says, remember your Creator in your young days. Because if a person is only going to do Teshuva when he's older, although we said you could do Teshuva any time, it'll always be accepted. And when the person comes to heaven, the ultimate day of judgment, they're not even going to mention any sins that he did if he did Teshuva. They don't. It's as if it never happened. At the same time, if you want to do a real Teshuva, you have to have the chance to do it again. And if a person gets older and he's not interested in some of the sins that he was interested in when he's younger, although he'll do Teshuva, which he did, and it's accepted, but it's not that level of Teshuva where he's forgiven, where it's a complete Teshuva. But then the Rambam reiterates and says, even though it's not this amazing level of Teshuva, it's still Teshuva, and this man is a returnee, is about Teshuva, and he's forgiven. Even, again, he said this in last chapter, even if his whole life he was a sinner, and then he did Teshuva on the day he died, the last day on earth he did Teshuva, and he died with his Teshuva, all of his sins are forgiven, because the verse...
Sounds like Catholicism.
No, because it's not just confession. It's sincere Teshuva. Confession is part of it, but it's not sincere Teshuva. It's not accepting something, it's true regret. And the Rambam proves this point, is halacha from the verse that says, until the sun didn't set, didn't darken, and the light and the moon and the stars, the clouds return after the rain, which refers to the day of passing. So point is that as long as a person's alive, they have the opportunity to do Teshuva. And if they did, doesn't matter if they had the same interest as they did when they were younger. It doesn't matter if now they're afraid or not interested, whatever it may be. Yes, that's a higher level of Teshuva. But regardless, if a person does Teshuva, he's about Teshuva.
Can you define more clearly for me Teshuva? This is just return.
Yes, and what does that mean? It means, let's say a person used to eat cheeseburgers every day, and that's non-kosher. Milk and meat is forbidden. And he decides one day, I'm not going to do this anymore. So he regrets that he did it. He decides not to do it again, meaning he resolved, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he confesses to God and he says, I sinned and I'm ashamed of it. I'm not going to do it again. Doing that, that's Teshuva. Now, you want to know what a real Teshuva is? The next time you're really hungry and all you have to eat is the cheeseburger and you want it the same way, and you're not scared of a punishment and you're not, etc., then you know it's real Teshuva. But let's say you never had that opportunity again. You planned your meals out. You never want a cheeseburger. It just never came your way. It's still tshuva because you sincerely regretted it and you said, I'm not doing it again. But at the same time, it says do tshuva when you're younger because some of the desires that a person has in his younger years, as they get older, those desires dissipate. They're not interested in them anymore. And he can still do tshuva. In the last day of his life, he can do tshuva, as the Rambam says. But special tshuva, he's not going to have that opportunity. He's fine. He's not going to be punished. He's forgiven. Okay. But from this verse that he brings, you see that if a person remembers his Creator and he returns to Hashem before he dies, as long as he's alive, he gets forgiven. Tshuva is tshuva. Doesn't matter his whole life. If he's sincere in the end, that's tshuva. Now, the reality is that it's very hard to be sincere if you plan it. You say, I'm going to go away for the weekend, I'll have a little fun, and on Monday, I'm doing tshuva. Okay? When Monday comes, it's very difficult to do the tshuva because it's like saying, I'm going to beat you up and then I'll say I'm sorry. How sincere is your sorry going to be? So what is tshuva? It says the Rambam, tshuva, the sinner should leave his sin, stop the act, take it out of his mind, and decide in your heart not to do this again. As the verse in Prophet says, a wicked man should forsake his ways, and he should also feel bad about the things that he did. It should bother him. He should regret that he did them. As the verse says, after I returned, I regretted that I used to do this stuff. And then the knower of all the depths of the heart, which is who knows what's going on in your heart, you know?
Rabbi, what about the concept of the mind controlling the heart?
Yeah, very good. You got to work on that as well. Very good point. That's a tool that our heart should be in the right place. Maybe that's why he says, take it out of your mind. Don't even think about it. But the knower of all the feelings, the knower of the recesses of the heart, which is God, will say this person is not going back to this sin. He's sincere. Okay? But you must, as the Rambam said, you must confess verbally to God and say this. You decided in your heart, I'm not going to do this again. You got to say it to Hashem. I'm not doing this again. Now, what if it's the flip side? A person says the confession, he regrets and he verbalizes it, but in his heart, he's not really so sincere. Sorry, I sinned, I transgressed, I messed up, I'm not going to do it again. But in his heart, he's like, I don't know, maybe next week I'll do it again. That's somebody who goes to the mikvah to purify himself, and he's holding an impure insect in his hand, which is going to make him impure, which such a immersion in the mikvah doesn't help because you're holding the impure thing. You got to throw away the impurity, and then the mikvah will work. Same thing. Confessing is good, but you need to be real and sincere about it. If you're not, it's not going to help.
I just want to know if it's real or not.
If you're sincere about it, if you really decide that you plan on never doing this again, truly feel that. That's what it says. The one that admits and forsakes will be forgiven. Hashem has compassion on him. He needs to enumerate the sin, say exactly what it is. As it says, please, I sinned, a great sin. Actually, they sinned. The nation transgressed a great sin, and they made for them a golden idol. You see, when Moshe Rabbeinu was praying for the Jewish people, begging for forgiveness for this that they worshipped, the golden calf, he said they did the sin. This is what they did. So you see that you have to enumerate what a person did wrong. When a person enumerates it, that's considered to be a proper confession. Not just, hey, I sinned. Moshe said they sinned, they made a golden idol. God willing, to be continued. Thanks for joining. See you again soon. We're going to dive